Hello, everybody. My name's Dennis. I'm part of the DevRel team here at Pagoda or Near Inc. Welcome to this protocol community session. Today we'll have Bowen here, who's going to walk us through the rest of the program. I'll be looking at the chat, looking at your questions, and moderating on in between, and picking them up as we get them. So, Bowen.
Yep.
Where's on you?
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, let's get started. I have a few agenda items today. First, I'll just give a quick update on the progress we're making on the protocol development, and then George will talk about stakeholders, and then I'll talk about the new NEP process for contributions towards the protocol, and then we'll have a discussion with folks from Decentral Bank on meta transactions. And then, well, as always, there'll be time for questions and answers. Okay, so yeah, very quick update. So phase 1 of Sharding, the thing that people have been looking forward to for a long time, is finally coming. It's going to come in the 1.29.0 release. The release will go to testnet on August 15th, which is next Monday. And then the mainnet release would happen. The mainnet release would go live on September 21st. And as you probably know, there is a period of time between when the release is published and when every validator actually upgrade and then the network actually switch to the new protocol version. And that is projected to happen before or by September 28th. Yeah, that's kind of the quick update from me. So now I'll just pass it to George to talk about stakeholders.
Thank you, Bowen. So if you can, go to the next slide. I want to first recap a bit what our intention with stakeholders is, just to keep everybody on the same page before looking back retrospectively of how things went until now. So what we want to achieve with stakeholders is basically a set of 3 things. On one side, to give the community an early access to the chunk-only producer code, and also give a playground, make a network where that node can be exercised. And this will help becoming familiar with what the next milestone of sharding brings, and get your hands on it and play with it a bit. At the same time, given that we're going to increase the number of validator seats on mainnet, we want to help people that want to become validator with technical guidance and with the motivation to actually learn what it means to be a good validator. And third, but not least, we want to have a good chance of battle testing the code before we go in mainnet to get data points that give us confidence the release is working as we expect it to be. The program is running from mid-July until early September. So we are almost half through that time frame. And what's very, very interesting about it is that we are running the program as a partnership with community members, with Metapool, Linear, Everstake, and OSA, who all of them are supporting the program and coming up with challenges, offering technical guidance to participants, and basically running it. The last bullet is something that I just mentioned. We expect to increase the number of validator seats in mainnet from 100 up to, depending on the data points that we get from Shardnet, to 3x. So where are we with the program now? We got a lot of interest, and we're really happy about how many people wanted to join the program and wanted to take on the challenges and to be part of this learning experience for the community. So we've seen the number of nodes in Shardnet. By the way, Shardnet is the test network, the test playground, to avoid confusion, where stakeholders is happening. But we've seen the number of nodes fluctuating a bit, but it was more than 1,600 throughout the last days. And this shows the interest that people have. And we only have 400 validator seats there. So it's quite a size compared to our initial plans. And this is definitely a positive feedback that we're getting regarding the interest of the community. For the people that want to learn, the way the program is designed is to give them challenges and rewards if they complete those challenges. We have 11 challenges until now, and a few more to planned for later this week. And we're going to continue releasing each week until the end of the program, 2 to 3 challenges to keep people engaged and give them an opportunity to learn what it means to operate a node and to have a very good operational posture in keeping your validator running. We have a lot of engagement on Discord. There's a channel, the Stakewars channel, where people ask a lot of questions, and it's a learning community, and it's also a place where we discuss the issues that we encounter. And things have been colorful, to call it like that. At the end of the day, it's a Shardnet. It's a playground where we're battle testing code and where we're stressing the whole network as much as we can to see what it happens when we push it to the limit with decent velocity. So we don't intend to hit the wall, but things may happen and we may see hiccups. The good thing is that the whole setup was designed in such a way to give us tools to adapt to the issues that we find and to be able to steer the whole program and the whole playground in such a way that we adapt to the problems and we fix them and we test the fixes and we move on as quickly as possible. So we made incremental adjustments to the token economy. For example, we switched to a delegation model to make the economy more stable and prevent bad actors from influencing Stakewars, and that proved to calm things down a bit. Or another example is that we had to use the hard fork tool. We avoided it as much as possible, but there were cases when we had to use it to bring Shardnet back into a good state. And while we do not expect to see hard forks in mainnet, it was still a good learning experience for the participants to see what it means to go through that event and what they need to do to adapt to it. So as you've seen, Stakewars is mostly focused on the community and the learning experience and giving people early access to the code. As a separate track, the chunk-only producer code will be available on testnet, like Bowen mentioned on an earlier slide, on Monday, August 15th. And that is part of our regular release process. It's part of the regular steps that we take when we do any mainnet release. So we're seeing testnet as a separate playground from Stakewars. I guess that's it from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, George. And I think we can move on to talk about the new NEP process, which is going to be exciting. So just to kind of give people some background, for those who don't know, near enhancement proposals or NEPs have been in existence for, I think, quite a long time now. Maybe the initial version was there even before mainnet went live. So yeah, probably more than 2 years by now. But the process wasn't fully fleshed out. There is essentially a template that people can use to submit proposals, but then that's basically it. It's not really clear how to move forward once someone submits a proposal like that. Who should actually review that, and what are the next steps? And as we grow larger and larger, I've been hearing more and more complaints that there are people who are very interested to contribute to the protocol, but they don't actually know how to get started and how to move forward, which is a problem that we're trying to address here. So yeah, before I talk about the actual process, it's important to first talk about the roles and responsibilities and who are the stakeholders in this process. So first of all, we have the author. Maybe we'll change it to a different name in the future, but basically this is a person who drives the proposal forward. So essentially, the NEP process is supposed to be a process where anyone from the community can participate. There's no restriction on who can write a proposal. So the author would be the person who writes the proposal following the templates we have, and then they would also submit the proposal with a prototype implementation ready for review, and then and then the author would kind of go through the review phase, which we'll talk about, and then after all the review is done, there will be a final process in which they present their work to the protocol working group, which we'll also talk about later. And then the working group would make a final decision on the proposal. So that's what the author does, and then there's the moderator. So basically, moderator are the people that make sure that we don't receive spam proposals, and the proposals actually are formatted properly. They follow the template that we're using, and it's not something that has just been rejected. And then they're also responsible for kind of coordinating the proposal and with different stakeholders in the process, make sure that they move along and doesn't get stuck. But they would not assess the technical feasibility of the proposal itself. And who does that? Well, so for each proposal, a group of subject matter experts will be assigned to review the proposal. For each, and the current process is that for each proposal, there will be at least 2 subject matter experts. They have the power to reject the proposal based on the lack of technical merits. But they don't have the ability to single-handedly to say, oh, this proposal is finally approved. So who has the power to do that? Well, it's it's what we call the community working group. So more information would come later, but basically this is going to be the foundation of the governing body for protocol proposals. Essentially, people who have broad understanding and interest in the protocol itself, and can make the best judgment on behalf of the ecosystem. And how this would work is that they would essentially be responsible for making the final decision on whether a proposal gets accepted or not through a community meeting, where the author would present the proposal, and then a decision would be made on whether the proposal is accepted or not. So yeah, all of that may sound confusing. So here is a nice diagram made by Ori, our technical program manager. And this diagram illustrates pretty well the entire process. Basically, the author would create the proposal, it would enter this draft stage, and then the moderator would look at the draft, see whether it complies with all the standards and all the everything that the proposal needs to follow, and then the moderator would move the draft towards the next step, marking it ready to review, and then a set of subject matter experts will be assigned by the working group to review the proposal. And once the review is done, there's basically 2 outcomes. Well, one is that the reviewers think that on the technical side, the proposal is ready to move forward. There's no objections to the proposal, or rather that the pros and cons are clearly laid out in the proposal, and it makes sense. So then it would move towards voting, and then the community working group would make a decision on whether the proposal gets approved or rejected. However, there is also another case, right? Because the reviewers can keep giving feedback on the proposal. Maybe that maybe they want to see in more detail how a certain part of the proposal would work, asking the author to give examples or or explain more how certain things work, or they think maybe there is a better way to do certain things, and then they would ask the author to revise the proposal. That could take time. However, one of the reasons why we designed this process is that we want to make sure that the process is time boxed, that it doesn't go on forever. Because we have seen proposals that kind of get stuck in the state of there's comment, and then the author addresses comment, and then the kind of review goes on now, just doesn't stop. And therefore, we kind of explicitly set a time box here. Basically, if a proposal has been in the review stage for more than a month without moving to the next stage, then it will get automatically rejected. Getting rejected doesn't mean that it just forever rejected. The author of the proposal, if they understand the reason for rejection, and they think about it more and come up with a better proposal later, they can resubmit their proposal after a period of time. So yeah, that's kind of the brief overview of the entire life cycle of the NEP process. And more information can be found on this document that's on the NEP's repository. And we will start executing on this process pretty soon. So since we talk about, as part of this process, there's going to be this community working group meeting. And people may ask, well, what's going to happen with this meeting? That is a good question. And the current thinking is that we will still keep having this meeting, primarily for 2 reasons. One is that I think it's still nice to have a place where we can provide protocol updates, the progress we made on protocol development, as well as a place for people to surface their ideas. So the community working group meetings would be geared towards actually making a final decision on whether the proposal gets submitted or not. It's not really a place for people to discuss ideas which may not be extremely well formed. So I think this would also be a place for us to do that. And also, yeah, it's just general Q&A. So yeah, that's the current thinking for this meeting. And if you have any other suggestions, yeah, feel free to let us know, and we can think about how to make this meeting more useful for the entire community. Yeah, so that's basically the update on the NEP process. Yeah, Dennis, can you promote Alex? Oh, actually, yeah. Alex and Igor, can you signal yourself so that Dennis can promote you to panelist?
Yeah, please raise your hand or similar. I can see from the list. There we go. Promote to panelist. Joined. Great.
All right. Hey guys.
Hey, so yeah, just a quick introduction. We have Alex and Igor from Decentral Bank, and yeah, we'll have a discussion about meta transaction. Yeah, Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Alexander. I'm developer of near native stablecoin USN. And Igor is not connected, by the way. Yeah.
Is he in the meeting?
He's on the meeting, but you attached George. He's not.
No, he hasn't raised his hand so far, so.
No, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, if you could, Igor, you could please raise your hand in the through the UI, then I'll be able to spot you immediately. Otherwise, it's Igor Uleski, right?
Well, yeah.
Great. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, Bowen, what is the format of the current discussion? Is it kind of a free-write discussion?
Yeah, it's mostly that, but I think it's probably a good idea for you guys to first give an overview of what the proposal actually is and why we're doing this.
Yeah, so we are working on POC, proof of concept of meta transaction. What is it? It is a transaction that can include another transaction. And why is it needed? For different purposes. However, the major one is that some entity can pay gas for Alice, who doesn't have money, doesn't have near to pay for gas herself. And so, for instance, you have a new account in near ecosystem, and so you don't have any money. However, you still want to start somehow. Probably you received ERC20 token in your pocket, and you want to send it back to someone. Still, you don't have NEAR, you don't have money, and you have to pay gas. So you have this problem that having no NEAR, you can't do anything. And meta transactions enable gasless transaction, which enable paying by, for instance, ERC20 tokens, paying for gas, with some commission to proxy entities. Yeah, so paying not only using NEAR. That is the basic thing. I think that it can enable many different use cases also. And yeah, that's it. We are working on POC. It's not actually 100% ready. And I also think that we are going to use your new proposal. That what you introduced the new how is it, a new way to prepare a proposal, review all this. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Alexander, can you talk a bit more about maybe some other potential use cases, as so that people here can have a better understanding of why we actually why this feature is important. So like I know you talk about the like paying in like fungible tokens, but yeah, I think like I do believe this has much larger implications. So if you can talk about that, it would be.
I know that, for instance, there are different ways developed on Ethereum. It also includes gasless transactions, and I probably don't know every case. However, what we are considering is that we have USN, which is a near native stablecoin, and so it could enable, I would say, like different cases to make it more unique for near ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, how does the USN play into this, or like what would the use case be there?
You have a new account and someone sent you USN, and we faced with the situation that when you have enough USN, however, you still have not enough NEAR, you'd like to continue. You'd like to send it back or to send it someone. Yeah, so I probably like getting back to the same use case. So I'm sorry, Bowen. However, I'm kind of technical guy, not a business dev level of things.
Yeah, no worries. So I think one of the important things is that it will enable this kind of subscription model where the application can the user don't need to worry really about paying gas for their transaction of using application. The application can pay on their behalf very easily, even if so like today, there is like access key and so on, but well, that has limitations. One, the gas would run out. You need to ask user issue another access key. Another thing is that for function call, access key doesn't allow you to transfer tokens and so on. So it's,
yeah. So if you, for instance, I believe it enables many use cases. However, why we do need meta transactions on the level of blockchain, it is because as we considered like workarounds and like hacks, instead of meta transactions on the level of blockchain. And so we found that it's pretty hard to overcome it, and also workarounds may have security issues, and like they're also limited in usage. So meta transaction should be a transaction that have signature that back another transaction, and can be executed on the blockchain. It still have many challenges. Like we found that there are challenges to integrate the new code into the existing infrastructure, as there are well-known actions, well-known I don't know, like the scheme of the near core is pretty established, and it disrupts it a little bit. But I think it's
but yeah, before we talk about that, I just want to mention that I think we've seen quite some success with Aurora Plus, which essentially is meta transaction for Aurora, or like it's like a similar model. So I wonder whether, so I saw that Marcelo is in the meeting. So not to put you on the spot, but if you're free to talk, wonder whether you can also talk about how this works, or like some of the implications there. Okay, so that not sure why there are two Marcelo.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so in Aurora we have some sort of meta transactions. Basically, users sign a Ethereum-like transaction, and we do all the decoding inside of the Aurora contract and compute the sender, and we are paying the near gas for our users. They actually don't need to pay anything, and the gas they pay, which is in ETH, it's some sort of artificial mechanism to prevent spam, which is the whole point of using gas. But they don't need to pay any near gas or they don't need any near account. I understand this doesn't solve completely the problem you're trying to solve with near, like first citizen level near meta transactions, but to some extent this model can be used as well. Yeah.
Okay, but Marcelo, if I understand correctly, the users don't have to pay. They can just pay a subscription, right? And then
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, with Aurora Plus, they don't need even to pay ETH. They have some amount of Aurora transactions, free transactions in Aurora. I don't think it's implemented right now, but the idea is that users will pay like some sort of freemium model. So you pay in advance some amount of tokens, or you get it, or the application does it for you. So you always interact for free with the system, and
okay, I think we lost you for a few seconds, but yeah.
Yeah, the TLDR is that users don't need to pay, and actually Aurora Plus right now provides 50 transactions for free, and users can, like applications can provide an interface such that their users don't need to pay gas at all.
I have a question while hearing this, Marcelo. What kind of system do you guys have in place, or a logic to handle abuse of this subsidy?
That's a good point. Like right now, all attacks we have received, it's about what near can handle and what we can put in the system. So it's not about the amount of money that it's been drained. Basically, we have, like right now with Aurora Plus, it's significantly easier. The system, it's quite complex, but we have a lot of filtering by IPs and whatnot. But if you subscribe to Aurora Plus, well, there is yet another system. I think we're doing KYC, if I recall correctly. So basically, we authenticate our users, and we only provide free transactions to authenticated users. Otherwise, you need to pay gas.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Let's maybe move back to talking about meta transactions. I think Alexander has been eager to talk about the actual technical details. I think maybe, yeah, that's actually a good time to do that. Yeah, Alexander, wonder whether you can give an overview of like how this is actually going to be implemented.
Yeah, I think I have some lag. However, okay, I see many questions from Matthias. What should we do with it? Should we?
We can answer them later, but I think, yeah, let's go with the discussion.
Okay. So a technical aspect. How deeply should I, go into the technical aspect, like implementation? All right.
So basically,
yeah, basically it looks like you probably know that there are a few predefined actions like create account or call the contract or transfer some near, or what's up, add key, delete key. We add additional action, which is called, we call it delegate action. And what it can include other actions. And so from the from perspective of Rust, it means that we introduce kind of recursive type, and it also introduce additional challenges to code it properly. However, anyways, it's additional action that includes other actions, no, it includes another transaction which includes other actions. Yeah, so we have this packed structure in that delegate action.
Mm-hmm. And how would the delegate action be processed?
It's gonna be okay, so we have on some I would say, to not overcomplicate, from the user perspective, user creates a new transaction. However, user doesn't have gas, right? So it can just throw it into the node. This transaction is passed to a special method. Like if you see some code in JavaScript, we have additional method that converts the transaction. It wraps with the signature of some proxy of gas station, or we didn't come up with an idea how to call it. We probably call it gas station or backend station or something like that. It wraps the transaction into its own, with its own signature. However, it has a special action type, delegate action. And so after that, all this bunch is being thrown into the nodes, into the mechanism of blockchain. And then the new handling rules are involved, and that's we are working on. Because you have to, you're starting to unpack, you verify signature, and probably Igor can explain more. However, it's not the easiest topic. I think once we have a PR, pull request ready for review, it's gonna be simpler. By the way, answering on one of the Matthias questions is that there is a NEP not sure about pronunciation, how you pronounce it. I will pronounce NEP. And there is an old NEP, I think from the April of this year, that we also use as a reference. It was introduced by Ilya and Eugene, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, we can put the link there.
Yeah, if you have one, if you can put a link, or I can find it real quick.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of basically to summarize what Alexander was talking about, yeah, so essentially you have this wrap transaction, and then after it gets to after it's processed, it would first check that the signature would match, and then it would basically unwrap the transaction and then convert that to receipt and send it to be executed. And in this whole process, the signer ID would remain the same. It's like basically the conversion would make sure that it's essentially converted as if the transaction is actually coming from the original user, and then based on how receipt works, the predecessor ID would just be the account ID of the user itself. So there wouldn't be a question of how whether if you interact with smart contract, it would have the wrong predecessor ID or something. So that would not be a problem. And yeah, we will link the proposal in the chat.
Yeah, so we have a really rough POC. We just implemented, like a draft of sending some near tokens, and at the first step it worked just with a hard-coded number of near, and it was like 42 number. If you put 43, it doesn't work. It didn't work. It works now. So I mean, we are in the progress of debugging. Sometimes mathematics doesn't work. We are fighting with asserts here and there. And by the way, the good thing in the near core design is that there are many mathematical verifications, so you won't do stupid things. At least you can do stupid things, but it will cost you a lot. So that's our.
Yeah, Dennis, I think we can move on to answering questions. And yeah,
Great.
Thanks, Alexander, for the brief overview of how MetaTransaction is going to work.
Great. Thank you, Alexander. So moving from the most recent, so we have here, would MetaTransactions have their own function on the runtime to be able to process efficiently?
I'm not sure what they mean by their own function on the runtime. It's processed basically as similar to how a normal transaction is processed. It's just in that logic there will be a special logic that unwraps the meta transaction.
And next up we have, could we use meta transactions to create payment channels between two parties in order to avoid multiple transactions or receipts and improve processing times for many transactions at once between them?
I'm not sure. Yeah, Alexander, what do you think?
No, I'm not sure. I'm trying to.
I'm a little confused
wrap
about
my
the
head.
question.
Yeah.
Matthias, could you please type your question in a simpler way? Thank you. Let's see, we have a new one that just came in. I do not see the link to the proposal in chat. Oh,
yeah, I think one of the answers, if you click on the answer tab, I guess we can also send in the chat.
Yeah. And this one is, so I'll tackle the meta transaction ones first. A couple more from Matthias here. What meta transactions influence the underlying receipts?
Meta transaction influence? No, it's not going to. Yeah, Alexander, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding, if I remember correctly, there's no change on the receipt level.
I'm not, probably Igor can say more correctly, because it depends. It depends, you know, influence the underlying receipts. It should not. It should not. Maybe some refactoring is involved, you know, because you obviously can face with some technical issues, like maybe you have to move some pieces of code here and there. However, shouldn't.
Yeah, so my understanding is that basically the delegate action can only be unrolled once. So it's like there's a logic that makes sure like you don't, there's no way to, you know, indefinitely recurse on that. So it's like basically it's only, you can only put that as part of the transaction, and then once you process it to unwrap that, and then the rest will just be regular receipt, and then that receipt cannot have delegate action.
Cool. And so the last one would be, would meta transactions support batch transactions? Any limit on the actions they could include?
That's a great question. I think it's basically same as like how like a normal transaction would. I don't think there's much change to that.
Yeah.
I think those were the questions now for meta transactions. And also people, if you have questions in the meantime, please ask. But there's one relating to something else now. It's, is it possible for nodes defined in Genesis to unstake or unlock their locked balance?
Yes. Yes, if you are validators defined in Genesis, you can unstake after the network starts.
Great. Thank you. Those were the questions we have for now. Yeah.
Yeah, any other questions from anyone here about anything not necessarily meta transaction that we just talked about, but yeah, any questions about other things are welcome.
Remarks as well, or ideas?
Some extra feedback I can give on the Aurora side. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
We are actually going forward with this idea of running cross-contract calls from Aurora to NER right now. So basically from an Aurora contract, you will be able to execute functions on NER side. Well, we have been designing this without meta transactions in mind, but we are using an approach which I think was suggested by Ilya in one of these calls, which basically we are deploying one account per address in Aurora. This account has the ability to execute arbitrary transactions if they are coming from Aurora. So this is a way of implementing meta transactions in some sense without changing anything at the protocol level. So that's, I mean, probably we want not to go with this approach, but at least consider it. So the idea would be that you deploy a special contract on your account that will be able to allow other parties to execute meta transactions on your behalf, where your contract will be able to execute arbitrary transactions if they are signed properly. So that's
that's similar to how Ethereum meta transactions work, right? In Ethereum, if you want to use it, you need to deploy this proxy contractor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think our advantage is that you know, if we implement meta transaction in the proposal, it's actually much simpler. Like you don't have to deal with that at all.
Well, in our particular case, I don't think we can use meta transactions because our users are Aurora users. Yeah. They don't know about
that's a different use case.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit different. But yeah, in general, I mean, we can see how it turns about the meta transactions part, and then we can use it. But yeah.
Great. I had a question about stake wars, actually, George, if you're still around. Will there be any new challenges specific to running nodes on testnet for stake wars?
No, for testnet, no. So just to clarify a bit the space, when we started stake wars, our thinking at that point was to actually move the program from the dedicated test environment, Shardnet, to the actual testnet. But as the program progressed, and as our understanding of the stability of the network and the whole challenges of setting up a totally new blockchain look like, we realized it's a better idea to keep stakers in Shardnet, since we have better control over the whole network, and we have a lot more flexibility in playing with the economics and kicking the network in various ways to bring it back into stability and make the overall experience of the participants better. So that convinced us that it's better to just decouple testnet from stakers and continue with stakers as it was intended, as a community-oriented program, and look at testnet and the chunk-only producer release there as part of our regular release process. So keep those separate, and it's better and more clear for everyone. So we took the decision last week to actually continue on Shardnet and stay on the dedicated playground, on the dedicated test network until the end of the stakers program on September 9th. So all upcoming challenges will all of them target Shardnet.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, George.
Sure.
So, well, give everybody a minute or so in case there are any lingering thoughts, ideas, or questions. Otherwise, yeah, Bowen, if you're happy, we could call it a wrap up. I see a couple new points coming in the Q&A.
Yeah, I see the question. Like, basically, after they unwrap, it would be processed as a single receipt, right? A single receipt can also contain multiple different actions. That's how normally a transaction will be processed. Well, like how normally be processed, like you first convert to a receipt with the same amount of action, and then those actions will be processed. So in that sense, there's no difference.
Great. Very good. So yeah, looks to me that's it. What do you guys think? Would you like to wrap it up?
Who has special skills to wrap up meetings?
Well, very well. So yeah, thank you all. Thank you everybody for coming and for questions and your ideas. Yeah, we do this routinely. So up until next time. In the meantime, we run daily office hours as where when you're developing smart contracts or comparable dApps on Near, you can just pop around, ask us, me or other colleagues at the DevRel team live questions. So I'm gonna shameless plug here for the DevRel team. Let's see, office hours. Here we go. I'm gonna post a link in the chat, and that contains the link to our Discord server and the hours we run these office hours on. So both for the Americas time zones and for Europe, Middle East, and Asia as well. So thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.